Time Between Times storytelling, here on Halloween, Calan Gaeaf. Now is the time when the veil between our world and the fairy world is at its thinnest. Now you can almost see into their realm. Now the realm of stories is right amongst us. This is a day that we celebrate tales. We celebrate the supernatural. We celebrate all that goes on in the veil between worlds. And today is the day of stories. I'm going to tell you a tale today, a tale that possibly started me in storytelling. As a small child, I read this story. As a small child, a shiver went up my back. A story that stayed with me for many years, and here, for the first time, and probably the only time, I will tell it to you. Firstly, I want to thank you all for listening and joining in to this and the podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure over the last year. I will take a short break after this video, but this week I will record my first Ko-fi supporter video. So if you have supported me at the fireside on Ko-fi, you will get a video this week. I will take a break next week and come back with more tales, but a break from the ghosts just for now. My friends, I'm so glad to have you here at the Time Between Times. So, if you can, sit back, close your eyes, relax, and listen to a tale traditionally told on Halloween or whenever you're listening to this. Put on your warmest coat, open the door to your house, take a step on the path that leads to the forest, and walk with me into the woods. There around, we see friends. We see people we love, people we know, people we like to spend time with, and we gather at a clearing. The sun is starting to set, the moon is starting to rise, the time between times is upon us, the time when it is neither night nor day, but the sun has gone and the sky is grey. Now is the time that people see ghosts. Now is the time that people see the Tylwyth Teg. Now is the time that people see lights in the sky. But now is our favourite time. The time that we sit together and enjoy a tale traditionally told. The fire is starting to splutter. There are snacks and warm drinks passed around. Although the air is full of chill, your heart is full of warmth, for here you are in a safe place. Here you can forget all about your cares, your worries, your strifes, and all the things that are bothering you. Just disappear like smoke from the flames as you gather at the Time Between Times. Today's tale does not happen in Wales. It begins in France and moves to London, but it involves a young Welshman called Lewsyn Taylor. Lewsyn was from mid-Wales. He'd been born and bred around Brecon. A hunter, a thief, a baddish man. He was tall, thin, dark hair, and a great big black beard. His father had been a farmer around Brecon. Could not afford to keep the farm anymore, so Lewsyn had to join the army. And join the army he did, travelling on a sea overseas to fight against Napoleon. There at the Battle of Waterloo was his finest hour, as the French armies marched up the slope at the end of the day, just as the sun was starting to set and the time between times had come upon them. Lewsyn and his rifle and all his comrades let rip as drums rent the air, thunder of guns, and death all around him. He stood tall, his face blackened by gunpowder, his clothes reddened by blood. Many of his colleagues lying dead around him, yet he stood tall. After the battle, when the smoke had cleared, all you could see was the fallen for miles aloud. Lewsyn sat down and realised that his time on the battlefields of Europe was over. He wanted nothing more than to return to Wales, to return home, to be happy. But his bravery was recognised. was taken home and given an honorary position as a yeoman guard in the Tower of London. Was a dream come true for the man from a farm in Brecon, a house within the tower walls. He would wander, he was fed, he was given clothes to wear, he stood guard. But his cruel streak was still there. At that time, in the early 19th century, in the tower, the great tower with all its great towers within a tower stretching to the sky, within it was kept a menagerie of animals, lions, tigers, bears. Lucian would walk past and look at these animals as he was on his patrol, for at night it was him that walked the walls, him and a few of his colleagues. And his cruel streak came to a bear called Old Martin. Old Martin had been a gift from the Hudson Bay Company to the king, was kept in a small cage. Great brown bear, the size of which had not been seen in Britain. Old Martin would eat snacks from tourists and passers-by, and every time someone would come close, he would nuzzle his nose at the cage. Lucian would take advantage of this, and as he walked past, he would poke him with his bayonet. Not enough to really harm him, but just enough to be cruel. Old Martin hated Lucian, and would glare at him with eyes that seemed to say a lot more than what a bear should be able to say. He was kept in a dark corridor in his cage, occasionally let out on a chain to wander round the tower grounds. Every night, Lucian would go, poke him with a bayonet, laugh and walk off. A couple of years went by. His status within the tower grew. What a place of history. What a place of ghosts. It was said that the ghost of Anne Boleyn walked around carrying her head, although no one he knew had ever seen it. There in the great white tower in the middle, full of arms and armour, the ghosts of knights and maybe the princes long lost to their cruel uncle Richard III, said to wander and cry into the night. But Lucian had never seen them. His house along the castle walls. One night, got dressed in his finery, did the ceremonial closing of the tower, and was given the honorary position of going to St. Martin's Tower to guard the crown jewels. The best position of honour for a yeoman guard. Lucian opened the great oak door and stepped inside the tower. There around him was gold and jewels uncounted. From all over the world, there were tridents and necklaces and pendants, shining brightly. And even though in candlelight they would just flicker and glow, they seemed to light up the room. As the only yeoman on guard, he would wander round, his shoes clip-clopping on the floor. Up above him were the paintings of royals going back almost 1,000 years. There were arms and armour placed along the walls, hunting trophies looking down at him, and case after case of jewels and wealth uncounted. Lucian walked around. He would peer through the glass and look at some of the jewels, thinking what he could do with just one bit, one tiny bit of those jewels. He looked outside. The night was dark, fallen like a blanket. He wandered around, for all the cases were placed in a way that was almost like a maze. Up and down he went, a chill running down his spine. It was at that point that he heard a grunt, a groan, a growl. It seemed to come close. He turned around, couldn't see anything. Turned the corner and looked down the next aisle of jewels. There was nothing. Clip-clop down there, his shoes banging against the stone floor. As he reached the bottom, he felt like there was something behind him. there was nothing there. He had almost completely done his beat around the jewels. His shadow, his reflection seemed to glow and glitter off the cases. And once again he strode forward, his halberd stretched in front of him. No sign of anything. But then suddenly, and without warning, a mist started to form on the floor, first like a puddle, as if someone had spilled a drink. But then it started to rise, growing out of the floor. It rose up greatly until it stood straight in front of him, the size of a man and a half, probably 9 feet tall, and taking the shape of a great bear. Liu Xing was terrified. He stepped back as this shadow, this shape, this form from the other world stepped forward and opened its mouth and growled in a voice full of hatred. It lifted up its claws, each above their head, and bore down on the guardsman. Did not know what to do. He stepped back, grabbed his halberd, and ran towards the bear, summoning all his courage from the fields at Waterloo. But the weapon went straight through the bear, smashed into the glass of one of the jewels' covers, causing all the jewels to fall to the ground. Liu Xing tripped and fell amongst the glass, covered by diamonds and rubies. He turned around, and the bear stood over him, and then suddenly it dropped upon him, its teeth right in front of his face. Liu Xing's heart could take no more. He died of fright that moment at St. Martin's Tower, at the Tower of London, haunted by a bear. The next morning, his replacement guard entered the tower. First they thought a thief had come, but there was Liu Xing laying on the floor, as white as snow, his hair totally turned grey, and with a claw mark down his cheek. Dead, covered by jewels from a smashed case. Old Martin the bear was still in his case, his cage, his captivity, and was moved to London Zoo shortly afterwards, where he died in 1838. His skin and his skull were found years later in the Natural History Museum and brought back to the tower as an exhibition. The story of the bear ghost in the Tower of London is a famous one that has been passed down through generations. In many a ghost book it's there. The story of the bear, the story of the guard tried to stab the bear. As a child, I read that tale. It scared me. As a child, the thought of an animal ghost in an old setting like the Tower of London awoke my imagination. So today, I have told you the tale, the ghost of the Tower of London, the bear ghost, on Halloween, at the time between times. Diolch yn fawr am gwrando. Thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe to the channel if I stop burping. And please tell your friends about the time between times. It's a safe place for us to enjoy old tales traditionally told. There is also the podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. It's Halloween, Calan Gaeaf. Stay safe. Enjoy yourself. If you get a chance, tell someone a tale. Because when you tell a tale, magic happens. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much. Thank you for all your support. If you want to buy me a Ko-fi, Ko-fi/Owen Staton. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you. Happy Halloween.